All right. Good news is that we are live. You get? And we praise God and I thank every God, Allah, and the Muslims for the month of Ramadan. And the Christians are fasting, Muslims are fasting, and you guys are really having the best of the best. Now, I want to let you know that Arsenal have joined the Elliot Anderson transfer race. You know, if you've been following up on other teams like Manchester United, Man City, Newcastle, talk of teams like Chelsea, talk of teams like Manchester United, and so on and so forth, the name of this guy, known as Elliot Anderson, is not a novice to you because he is all over the place. He's one of those players that every team is really pointing at in the Premier League to obviously sign because looks like he's the next big thing in what we call world football. So, what does that mean when you are in the next big thing and you're playing for a team like Nottingham? Teams that are really seeing huge potential in you will come up and obviously try to convince you to obviously see you sign for them. And that's exactly what is happening at this particular juncture as we speak. Arsenal have joined the Anderson Elliot transfer race and it is on. And will they win it? He is what my thoughts are about. From Arsenal, we're obviously going to be talking about the game of football that's going to be played today in Milan, in the derby at San Siro. Luka Modric doing the needful. And lastly, we'll be talking of Mikel Arteta revealed how Arsenal trained for just 10 minutes for a 3-4-3 system in there for you that they deployed yesterday that failed them a little bit and went ahead to obviously get back to a 4-2-3-1. So, how many likes? 300 likes on this video. And don't forget to obviously subscribe. Now, this is Indy Kayla. He's a credible journalist, I tell you. Very credible. If you really followed up the recent summer transfers, the guy was on form in there. Arsenal are making moves for Elliot Anderson. The club believes Declan Rice and Anderson can dominate English football in years to come. You get? So, he's like, Arsenal are making moves for Elliot Anderson. The club believes Declan Rice and Anderson can dominate English football in years to come. From there, we obviously went ahead to go to free charges and told us that Arsenal have reportedly joined the race for Nottingham Forest midfielder Elliot Anderson. The 23-year-old England international is also attracting strong interest from Manchester United and Manchester City. Nottingham Forest remain firm. They will not consider any offers below £100 million, bolstered by his contract running until 2029. Anderson, who joined from Newcastle in 2024, has established himself as one of the Premier League's most promising midfield talents this season. A potential summer battle looms among top clubs for his dynamic box-to-box role. Mikel Arteta views him as a key, as a long-term addition to strengthen Arsenal's midfield depth. That's what we've gone ahead to get in the front free charges in there for you. And we are having 3-6-5 scores. Arsenal are making real moves behind the scenes, and Elliot Anderson is at the center of it. The club believes pairing him with Declan Rice could create one of the most complete midfield units in English football. So, you've heard it all. Now, let me break it down. First and foremost, Elliot Anderson is an amazing player. That is it. And the question is, he has only had, I think, one good... I think last season he was good, but this season... sorry about that. He has gone ahead to establish himself more and more and more into this Arsenal side. So, that makes him one of those players that you have to think of each and every time you're really talking about who is obviously going to be playing in the midfield of Arsenal a lot. Now, there has been a vacuum in the midfield of Arsenal, right? Because of Nogard not pleasing Mikel Arteta that he's the right guy to obviously come up and obviously be an understudy for Zubimendi. Because when you look at the minutes that Zubimendi has gone ahead to play, my dear, that has been a lot. when you look at the minutes that Declan Rice is going to play, that's been a lot. And that has been courtesy of a player called Nogard not being able to obviously prove to the manager that can obviously come up and obviously cause competition, and maybe the manager think of him and dropping him straight into the team. I think that's it. But the other factor is the injury of Mikel Merino and his age. You know, I think Mikel Merino is clocking 30 years of age. And now you can't be having players, Nogard 30 and Merino 30 in that midfield, obviously coming in through to compete with Declan Rice and Martin Zubimendi. The fact is, the gulf in class, you know, is huge. Declan Rice and Mikel Merino, the gulf in class is huge. Nogard and Zubimendi, the gulf in class is huge. So when the gulf in class is really huge, it makes it hard for anyone to obviously come up and obviously it makes it hard for anyone to come up and obviously put out a very huge shift in there for you to obviously see this Arsenal competing at big levels. And look at clubs like Man City, however much they have Rodri, they can bench Rodri and you obviously start Diego Gonzalez, and you are not obviously going to be experiencing something different altogether. So I think that's what the manager of Arsenal is really looking at, that when I get in Elliot Anderson, he can obviously play two roles. He can play as a CDM, he can play as a number 8. And I think that's the midfielder that Arsenal really need, because I know that from credible sources, Nogard is going to be leaving the club of Arsenal. That is it. They might leave him there, but if he has not obviously going to have to get in very many minutes this season, and no other midfielder is going to have to be brought in, then do you expect him to obviously get in more and more and more minutes when more midfielders drop in, especially of better quality, class, energy, physicality, and work rate? I don't think so, because when you look at the midfielders that Arsenal will be looking at, one is Elliot Anderson in there for you, and Sandro Tonali. Those two all can play as 6s and 8s. You get? And that means the manager will be like, Zubimendi will obviously play as a 6 for the club of Arsenal, because he has really looked wonderful in his first season in the Premier League, meaning that they are getting in a player who can come and obviously deputize for any of the two. You know, if at all he feels like wants to rest Declan Rice, he starts Elliot. If he wants to obviously rest Zubimendi, he can start Elliot, and Elliot plays as a CDM, right? So, if he starts Zubimendi and wants to rest Declan Rice, obviously he plays Elliot as a number 8. The same applies to Sandro Tonali. You rest Zubimendi, you play Tonali as a 6. You rest Declan Rice, you play Tonali as a number 8, and Zubimendi as an 8. And for me, I would on any day prefer a player known as Sandro Tonali ahead of this guy, because Sandro Tonali is a talent man. He's a player, and his talent speaks for himself. He can obviously come up and obviously do lots of things in there. So I think he's one of those that he would want to obviously have in your team. But when you look at Arsenal, it looks like they might be willing to obviously get in English players. You get? And he's one of them. You might see Arsenal going in for Anthony Gordon and Elliot, because they want to obviously get in more homegrown players and maybe increase onto the number of English players that start into their team. When you look at that Arsenal side, how many English players do start? Ben White no longer starts. So they're having Declan Rice, Bukayo Saka. Who else? So if you add in Anthony Gordon and can push for start, Elliot and can push for start, that means you're obviously having 4 to 5 players into the starting 11 of Arsenal who are really English. And I think they have to work onto that. So that is it for the club of Arsenal. And the other fact that I think they can go in for Elliot. Getting in Sandro Tonali might be hard from Newcastle. But Elliot, you know, teams like Manchester United, Man City have shown interest. And for Nottingham, they are good at spotting players. And they're like, let's get in and sign this lad known as Anderson Elliot. So wait and see. He's 23 years of age. He can play as a box-to-box midfielder, and he can also play as a number 6. Hugely or highly rated in there for you. Now, from there, let's obviously get to what we call the Modena, the Monina derby, AC Milan versus Inter Milan. Now, Luka Modric has paid for tickets and transport for 60 friends and family to be at the San Siro to watch him play in tonight's derby, Della Madonnina against Inter Milan. He paid for the tickets even sorry about that. He paid for tickets and even helped some of them travel from Croatia to watch the game. One of the 60 is Mario Mandzukic, who was already in Italy. So that is Luka Modric for you. And very important game for AC Milan where he's playing at. And when you look at this game of football, it's really a very huge derby, and it's the Milan derby. You understand? The game of football is going to be starting in the next 12 minutes, and the lineups are already out. And let me take you through the lineups of this particular encounter and see how these teams are really lining up in this particular encounter. And here we go. So Inter Milan 3-5-2 system, Magin in goal, Tomori, De Winter and Pavlovic, back 3. Then Silmakers, right wing back, Estupi, left wing back. Then Fofana, Modric and Rabiot, midfield 3, Pulisic and Leo, Rafa leading the line as the the side of AC Milan. For Inter Milan, they obviously have the following players. And they obviously have the following players. It's Jan Sommer in goal. System is 3-5-2. Then Bastoni, Akanji, Bisek, back 3. Luis Henrique, right wing back. Di Marco, left wing back. Mkhitaryan, Zelinski and Barella, midfield 3. As Espotino and Bone leading the line in there for you. So that's all about the side of AC Milan and Inter Milan, as Luka Modric is going to hit obviously buy tickets for his fellow countrymen to come and really represent. Now, we do have a story about Arsenal. Yesterday, we saw Arsenal lining up against Mansfield in one of the systems that we rarely see Arteta really lining up, by the way. You know, he came up with a system of 3-4-2-1 system, you get? And this is how Arteta lined up. As a Balaga in goal, Salmon on the right side of the 3-man central defense, Carafiori on the left side of the 3-man central defense, Mosquera at the center of the 3-man central defense, Noni Madueke, right wing back, Gabriel Martinelli, left wing back, Kai Havertz and Nogard in the double pivot, Trossard, left number 10, Max Dorman, left number 10, and Gabriel Jesus was leading the line. Have you seen Arteta lining up like that before? I don't think so. It was way back, I think, when he obviously had got the job of Arsenal. But we now have the reason. He really did this, and we know that he lacked players, and their players really wanted to rest. He came up here, and James Ollie has told us that Mikel Arteta has revealed that Arsenal trained with the back three for just 10 minutes this week before deploying one at Mansfield. So, that is Arteta for you. He's like, we only trained like this for 10 minutes, and he saw to it that the team was struggling in that system, so he shifted to the system they best know. And what is that? It's all about a 4-2-3-1 or the system with the back four. That is Mikel Arteta for you. So guys, I call upon for your reactions in the comment section below about one. Arsenal join Elliot Anderson transfer race. Do you think they'll win it? And what do you think about Luka Modric action today? Will it motivate him to play and see to it that his team really wins against Inter Milan in this derby in there for you that is called the Della Madonnina derby or the Milan derby? And last, what are your thoughts about Arteta deploying a back three after training the system for just 10 minutes? I'm out. Bye-bye.